Counting calories is one of the most effective ways you can get your dream physique, but honestly, if you don't pick the right app, which there are hundreds out there, you can actually screw yourself over and not get the physique that you want. And I was in the same trap too. So what app do you actually pick? And for me, I decided to test 17 of the most popular fitness apps on the App Store so you can actually see if it's worth your time and money. And the first one we're gonna go over is none other than the king of calorie tracking, and that is MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is one of the most popular, no doubt, because it's been around for so long, and I believe it's owned by Under Armour now. And there was a lot of good things about MyFitnessPal. It was free to download, you had a bar scanner, you had a huge database of like every single popular brand out there, such as like Panda Express or Trader Joe's, you name it. And also the calories that it recommends for you is pretty accurate. But now at this time, it's honestly not the best, I would say, at all, because there's so many problems that you have when you're trying to use this app. And yes, it is free. And it's actually funny, one of the first things I told my buddy when I asked him, I said, what do you think is the best thing about this app? And he said, it's only free, bro. Like honestly, there's nothing else really good about this app anymore. Everything requires a paywall when you use it. So for example, there's no barcode scanner anymore. You gotta pay for that. For logging now, it's more annoying. You gotta track your calories by percentages rather than by the gram. And if you're trying to do it by grams, it's way easier compared to doing it by percentages. And by this, I'm referring to you putting in your own macros of what you want, because the app does not allow you to do that. And trust me, it's very annoying. And then the other thing is that it commonly, like a lot of other apps on this list, is that they have inaccurate exercise metrics. And there's actually one app in this list that doesn't really emphasize things such as like your exercise. And honestly, I like that a lot more, and I'll mention that later in this video, so stay tuned for that. So for me, honestly, for this MyFitnessPal app, I'm gonna have to put it in C tier, because it's honestly not as good compared to the other ones, which we'll get to in a moment. So the app I think that honestly has kind of replaced MyFitnessPal has been Carb Manager. And Carb Manager, when I first started testing out with this app, there's a lot of features that people don't really focus on, which are really helpful. And it also has a lot of stuff that I complain about from MyFitnessPal that Carb Manager has. So for example, it has a scanner. You can have custom macros that you want. Also, if you want to use premium, if you are really desperate for that, then it's also half the price of MyFitnessPal at this time. For everything you get, even as if it's free, it's really a steal. Like, people don't really use this one as much, which I honestly feel like it's a waste of time using MyFitnessPal compared to this. So they even have like an ease into diet section, which is way better than just jumping back and forth between macros, because MyFitnessPal is just gonna give you what you want. It's not really gonna focus on other things, such as like how long you've been dieting for, are you diet fatigued? Carb Manager kind of focuses on the holistic approach of let's ease into things, and that is one thing I do like because it prevents you from yo-yo dieting. Obviously, one thing I have noticed when I was using this with the barcode scanner and also just tracking things in general, it's way better in terms of speed compared to MyFitnessPal. So that's the main pluses I have for this. But honestly, the cons, it does have a bias towards keto because it's literally called Carb Manager, and they also have recipes based specifically for carbs, which is also a plus, but I'm not really focusing on recipes at this point. And I don't really like it when you focus on a specific diet right out of the gate for this, because this obviously as an app promotes indirectly keto, and because of that, it just creates, I guess, like a lot of unnecessary things it wants you to focus on, such as like your glucose levels, your ketone levels. When you're picking out an app, it's not really the most essential things that you need to worry about. The most important things I'll get layered to in this video, but obviously the most important one's macros, which is what it has. So while it's better than MyFitnessPal, I don't think it's A tier, so I'm gonna have to put this as a solid B tier rating. And if you haven't heard of a Carb Manager, that's okay. You probably heard of another app called Noom. I would say it's definitely one of the most interesting apps there is out here, because most apps will just give you a random macro to hit, such as MyFitnessPal, but Noom focuses more on the big picture and gives you more of a mindful health section, such as dieting habits, how you approach to food, what your stress level's like, and once it's done, it will give you a target range rather than just a set number, which is pretty helpful in general, because if you're focusing a lot on just a strict number, for me, when I started dieting, I would always want to be below the number or at least hit exactly the number. If I didn't, I felt like a failure. Noom doesn't really have that. It gives you a good range, which I do like. And over time, it will teach you a lot of basic beginner principles of nutrition, which is very helpful for you, not just using Noom, but also just going day to day with your life, which I think is really helpful. All these things I'm mentioning are in a simple course map, which is pretty simple to use. It also introduces a food grade scale, so it shows how healthy the foods that you're actually eating, which I'll get to that in a second. And it also has weekly progress reports. So when you're checking out the app at the end of the week, it'll give you recommendations on what you should do after. And this is one of the first apps that actually does this compared to the others. But there are some things I don't like about, which is that it's really expensive, because think about it, you gotta pay $99 for this at this time. Like, that's really, you gotta pay that for 1 year? There's a lot of other apps on the list I'll mention soon that are way cheaper and way better. But for this, the food grade scale that I mentioned earlier is also very questionable, because there was one time I was scanning cottage cheese, which was low fat, and it gave me an orange tier. What? And that means that you should probably not focus on this food as much and focus on other foods. And for me, I thought, oh, well, it's because it's dairy. Possibly. But I pick another dairy product, which is yogurt, and it actually gave me a green light, which said it was healthier. And I find this a little bit subjective, because both of these I've used and both of them I've lost weight with. And honestly, this creates a big dichotomy of what really matters. And for them, it's, yes, calories do matter, but also the macros you pick will influence a lot on how you are on your journey, not a food grade scale. So that is what I would say is really important on what you're having. So for the price you're paying is worth it if you are like a complete beginner, but if you're not and you've lost weight before, I'm gonna have to put this in B tier as well. It's not A tier worthy for this, especially for the price, really expensive. So the next app that I think is a little bit better when it comes to the food grade scale would actually be MyNetDiary. And MyNetDiary is not really like Noom, but it's also not like Carb Manager either, which it has a special feature that a lot of people don't really focus on, and that is the smart calculator, or what I call the coach feature. In this case, what happens is that week over week, it will actually give you adjustments on your diet, which is really helpful, because if you have just a strict number and it doesn't change, that's where you're gonna start running into some frustration, especially if you're trying to hit the exact number for your macros. So this adjusts it based off the weight that you give it over time when you do your weigh-ins. What's really good is that for the food scale is that it gives you a more in-depth analysis on the macros and nutrients compared to something like Noom, which I like more. And also, it does have a useful barcode scanner, which is really fast and reliable, just like the other apps. And it also does have a big diet database. And unlike the others, is pretty diet neutral. It doesn't really focus on stuff, but it does have diets if you want to have them, depending on your style, which I also like. And the only con I would say is that you can't completely adjust your macros on the free plan, which is the most important thing. Honestly, that's like the Achilles heel of this. But if you invest in premium, which is not really that expensive, I would say it's one of the few apps I would use if I didn't have the other ones that I personally use a lot that I'll mention later. So for this, it's gonna go in A tier. First one, A tier, so good job, MyNetDiary. If you're seeing this, you should sponsor me because I love your app. There's no other reason, so sponsor me now. Okay, so we are doing a 180 on this one, and this app, I don't think a lot of people know about, but I've seen this one a lot, and it is called Calorie with a Y, not IE, and oh my gosh, it is very conflicting in general. The only pros I would say is that it has a very easy to use interface. It's only meant for tracking calories. So if you want just something that's very basic like that, this will give it to you. But everything you want, such as like your macros or literally anything, you're gonna have to use the premium version. And it's worse than MyFitnessPal. So dude, come on, it needs to be better, especially for the amount of money I'm paying. Really? Really? Why do you do that? Easy F tier. It's terrible. Don't ever use this one. All right, next up, Fooducate. So that just sounds weird. I'd rather say Calorie by all means. But Fooducate is another one where it has a crazy amount of paywalls for basically everything. You need to pay to see your macros, your nutrients, anything else that you really want to focus on a lot, except your calories, which is the only free part. And the user interface, pretty hard. It's not smooth, very bare bones. And honestly, for me, when I'm looking on my app, I don't want to be seeing ads or constant upsells on things. I'm like, dude, I'm coming here to track my calories, not to invest my life savings in you. Because of that, finding the foods are a pain. I don't really like using it. So the only pros I would say is that you see your calories, and it does have a general food scale like MyNetDiary, which both I think are pretty decent. So for this, I'm gonna have to give it D tier. honestly, you're going down there, sorry. So next up, this one I personally love, and I have not seen a lot of people talk about this one, but it's a huge game changer, and that's Cronometer. Unlike a lot of the other apps, it just gives you like general macros and calories, and that's okay, but this one literally gives you everything. I personally used this one before, it helped me a lot before I found the other apps, and almost everything you need on this app compared to every other app that I just mentioned is completely free. Everything is free on this. Aside from a little few things, I'll get to that in a second. You get to set your own macros, almost every type of nutrient that you want to look at. Like if you want to look at like copper or zinc or vitamin B12 or whatever, this will show it to you. It will give you a complete unbiased, quantified approach of everything. So you get a huge graph of all the macros, all your nutrients, and you also get to not just look at their nutrients and everything like that, you also get to look at all of your measurements. You get to see your sleep. If you really want to go as far as to see how much your stool is, yeah, you can look at that if you really want to. I don't know why you would, but hey, if you want it, they got it. And it just replaces Noom in a lot of different ways, and it's in a neat free package. So you basically see everything you want. And also it connects to smartwatches pretty easily. So for me, I use a Garmin now. I also used a Fitbit before and an Apple Watch. So if you guys do like using your smartwatch with your calorie tracking apps, this one I highly recommend. In general, even though it does have an exercise feature similar to the others, I don't recommend implementing that. I only recommend having it for your step count to make it way easier. And for this, the only cons I would have to say is that there are free ads that pop up time to time because that's how it's gonna make its money if you don't really pay for premium. And the learning curve can kind of be a little bit daunting because there is a lot of stuff on here that you gotta sift through and see what you want, but as soon as you get used to that, it's pretty easy. So for this, A tier easily, going up there. Thank you, please, God, there needs to be better apps. Okay, so Lose It. I'm gonna have to lose it with this one. It lost my mind because honestly, it's very similar to MyFitnessPal on how it is. It's got a large database. Features, specifically the Say It feature is pretty cool. Aside from MyFitnessPal, they don't really have that. And I also like the My Food section, which is very helpful because if you keep going on the same app over and over again, easy, bam, just your food's right there. No barcode, which is really annoying. I can't even find the macros time and time because you gotta sift through like specific map to get through it. Pretty annoying. And all the problems I mentioned for MyFitnessPal, is the same thing for Lose It. So I'm gonna have to put it in C tier, pretty easy. Sorry, Lose It. Next up, Foodnoms. So I don't know where these apps get their names from, honestly, but for this one, Foodnoms, it is very minimalist on its approach for macro counting because a lot of these other ones, like Cronometer, they'll give you like a lot of different things, and MyFitnessPal, oh, here's your intermittent fasting, here's your water tracking, here's all these other unique features that you have. Foodnoms is very simple. It doesn't really have all the fancy gadgets, and I actually like it that way. And if I wasn't seeing these other apps, I would use this app. And because it's really easy to add macros, really good at creating your macro and calorie goals, unlike a lot of other apps, which you have to pay for. And it's also really easy to see your overall macros and nutrients. Specific for nutrients, you do have to pay for premium, but for the macros, pretty simple. But the cons is that if you do want to look at all your stuff, such as mostly your nutrients or other things like intermittent fasting, it doesn't have those bells and whistles. You're not gonna be able to integrate that seamlessly into your app. I mean, it's a little bit annoying. And the big caveat on this is that you can't track your weight, or at least it's really hard to because I could not find it, which is really ironic. But truth be told, you don't have to have it inside the app. A lot of people, oh my gosh, controversial, but you don't have to put it in the app. You can just have it on a sheet of paper. You can have it anywhere else, honestly, and it makes it way easier. So for this, I would actually put this in B tier. So that's my personal opinion. If you don't like it, then watch the rest because you'll see something better then. So next up is FitBee. I actually saw this on a Reddit thread and it got pretty popular. And truth be told, it's pretty similar to Foodnoms. It's very minimalist, and it does have some cool features that you didn't really think that you need, but they actually have them there. And it's got a pretty easy to use interface. It's relatively simple. You can't really lose track anywhere on this. Easily find a way around. Aside from just having a barcode scanner for free, you also get a picture analyzer, which I do like because let's say if you didn't have a barcode scanner for a certain thing and you don't know what to do, like let's say you're at a restaurant, you just take a picture and then it'll find the foods on it and then it gives you recommendations of, hey, this is what we think's in the food, of the calories. And even if it's wrong, you can actually just edit it, which is pretty easy. It's not just gonna fill in for you. But the only con is that that it's, like I said, pretty minimalist, so it's not gonna give you a lot of nutrients or metrics that you want, but except it does have weight, unlike Foodnoms. So for this, I would have to put this in B tier, a little bit higher than Foodnoms, pretty simple. Okay, so if you never heard this app before, you've definitely heard of the YouTube channel RP Periodization. This is their app, RP Diet, and I actually currently use this one, and I do like it a lot. There are a lot of good things about it, which is the reason why I paid over $90 for this app, because it's worth it. It's expensive, but effective. It's definitely one of those types of apps. And the big pro is that it acts like your personal coach in almost every way. So a lot of the apps, for example, I mentioned with MyNetDiary, is that over time, it will give you weekly adjustments of your food. This does this too, but the big difference is that it focuses on a lot of different things than just your food and calories. It focuses on your day-to-day life, such as like when you sleep, what types of workouts are you doing? How heavy are those workouts? What's your meal times? What's your busy times? Factors all these things already in it in a very simple to understand way that you can just start losing weight like crazy. For me, when I first started doing this, started losing like over, I think about like 5 to 8 pounds, just pretty simple, actually even faster than that. Also, I do enjoy that it has a thing called meal adherence. So it basically, day over day, it has like certain macros that it checks out, and then you say, this is how well I'm doing. I'm going over my macros, under my macros, or at my macros, and then it will show you, okay, this is how well you're doing. And this also depends on, let's say, how many meals you have. So if I have like 4 meals a day, 3 meals a day, 2 meals a day, it'll basically check in those boxes over time, which is really good. And it focuses on the number of meals too, rather than just breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which is very interesting because it caters more to your lifestyle than just you trying to cater to the app, because obviously, you know, it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Also, user interface, pretty simple, very precise in what you're doing. If you want to find anything, relatively simple. And meal streak, I do like, because it shows how well I'm actually checking in, unlike some apps where you just kind of set it and forget it, and you don't really check ever and you go on autopilot. But there are some cons to this app, and for this, I find it a little bit annoying that it is almost too simple in a way. If you don't care about vitamins, minerals, and just the results in your macros, then that's fine. But if you want to focus more on other things, such as your vitamins, minerals, your overall sleep quality, things like that, you're gonna have to use a different app. This won't show it to you. But for this, you also won't be able to see the calories of your food. So for this, it will only show you roughly the macros, and it actually rounds it in a way. And truth be told, I do like seeing the precision of my food. But for this, they always do it in terms of like 5 of increments. So if you put, let's say on a food scale, hey, I got 53 grams, it says, okay, 55 or 50, you choose. I'm a nerd like that, and I like seeing it, so it's personally me. Overall, I do think this is a really effective app for the basics of what you're getting for it, and I definitely think it is actually worth the price, unlike Noom. So I'm gonna have to put this up in A tier. Pretty simple to say for that. All right, next up, FatSecret. This one I do pretty much like a lot. It is a more beefed up version of FitBee in a way, because it does show a lot of your macros, show lots more of the nutrients. Pretty simple as that. I do find the barcode scanner to be pretty good. I do also like the community feature, really good on that. But I do find it just over time, it's not really worth it compared to like using the other apps such as like Cronometer or even using FitBee, because I do find it a little bit slow. But if you do really like that community feature on an app, like help other people or for other people to help you, then I definitely recommend an app like this. So for this, I would say solid B tier for this. All right, so Weight Watchers. If you've never seen or heard of Weight Watchers is using more of points rather than calories. So it focuses on you eating healthier types of foods, and Weight Watchers has a humongous database, which is the best part about this app. But it kind of flips it on top of its head, because I personally don't think it's an effective thing long-term when you're using Weight Watchers, because all it really focuses on is just the quality of foods that you actually have, which is really good in a sense, but it doesn't focus on if you're overeating or undereating, which honestly is the most important thing when you're trying to lose weight, is how much am I actually eating to when I'm losing weight or when I'm gaining weight. It's basically just a food scale on steroids, and it has all these different points, and it just makes it way more complicated than it is. So I think it's just leading people in the wrong direction, in my opinion. So I'm not a huge fan of Weight Watchers for that, so I would have to put this in D tier. There are a lot more effective apps that can actually help you with better results in the long term. So, okay, next up, NutraCheck. This one I never really heard of, but I had someone refer it to me, and this one is actually way more popular than I think it is. And as I was trying out, I do find it that it does have a lot of good features inside of it, such as like has a barcode scanner, the macros very accurate. The only thing I would say that is kind of slow compared to the other ones, I think it's because it's really beefed out, because they have all these different types of diets and all the macros that you can choose if you really want to. Hitting certain macros to hit your goals, I think is what really matters the most. So for this, I would have to put it in B tier in my opinion. All right, so next up is Macrofactor. And if you haven't heard of Macrofactor, I am sorry, you are living under a rock at this point, because Macrofactor is one of the biggest apps now. I think it's personally replaced MyFitnessPal in a good way, honestly. Super good. I've used it for a couple of months. I was able to lose about 10 pounds just in like 2 months. It's very effective because the process is relatively simple. This is the one app I would say where it does not focus a lot on exercise. What I mean by that is that a lot of apps, what they'll do is that it allow you to put in your exercise and then you put in your calories burned. And for this, it doesn't really do that. It already integrates it beforehand. So if you'll already have a preset of questions, it'll say, how are you doing strength training? Are you doing something like cycling or cardio? If so, how often? And it's really effective on that, because then after that, it will adjust based off your lifestyle, similar to RP diet, in a more holistic approach, which I do like a lot. And then also adjust your overall calories depending on how often you put your weigh-ins. My mistake was that I only put 1, and honestly, having more weigh-ins, at least 3, is pretty important in my opinion, because you get to at least see some trend. And the more data that you give Macrofactor, the better it will get over time. So you get to also put a lot of different things, such as like recipes. It has an AI feature which tracks a lot of different things and also gives you very creative things, rather than such as like I said with FitBee, you put the picture and it guesses what it is. But for Macrofactor, you say exactly what it is and it will create a custom meal for you after that, which is really effective. And I do like that a lot. I do recommend it because of also the price. It's like under 50 bucks and you're also getting it for like the whole year. Super effective. I would have to put this as S tier. High quality, totally recommend for anyone. And it's not even a sponsor, just saying. So next up is Lifesum. Honestly, Lifesum, not a huge fan of. Personally, don't really like it. It's pretty oversimplified, and a lot of stuff has paywalls. So because of that, I'm just gonna put it in C tier. Honestly, it has the same problems as the other ones. Next up. All right, last one, and that is HitMeal. And if you haven't heard of HitMeal, neither have I, honestly. This is one of the most popular ones I saw in the App Store. When I downloaded it, tried using it, everything had a paywall. So I'm not a huge fan of that. And if you don't like paying for everything, then you should not use this app. So sorry, gotta go in D tier. Not my thing, sorry. So guys, that's basically all the most popular fitness apps that I found on the App Store. And if you guys have any recommendations, make sure you comment down below. I'll check them out, see what you guys think. And if you guys also are interested in seeing why Macrofactor is such a great app, because I mentioned it's the only one as S tier, make sure you check out this video right here that goes in depth on that, and I'll see you there in a second.